Cave Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church is celebrating 100 years.
It is day 73.
Starting with our basic tomato sauce puree, you can see that I'm starting out. Those persons who are cooking along, I just want to make sure that you're following. We're adding that water. So you should be adding a cup of water to your blender right now. And I'm following up with all of the blended seasonings. I would have asked persons to prep. Just let me know if we're going on too fast because I will pause. And the next thing I'm going to be putting in is the dates. We're making this sauce to use in the macaroni. These are dates, natural dried fruit rather than the raw sugar. So we're going to be getting some fiber and so forth as part of this tomato puree. And this is the tomato paste that we're using in the recipe. You would see the recipe called for tomato paste. Is everyone hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are.
Great. So I'm adding that paste to the blender, and following this, it's going to be blended. So we're going to be blending now. So I'm going to be putting on the cover on the blender now, and we're going to get this blended up so that we have it ready for the macaroni. So this is what it looks like to all those who are on the call. It's going to be almost like it's not going to be solid, it's like a semi-medium consistency liquid. And I'm going to be pouring it now into this. You don't need to pour it out, Kimberly, into a plate, because actually I'm going to let you pour it directly into your macaroni. I'm just pouring it out so that person can see what it looks like. Can I see what yours looks like, Kimberly? Yes, you have yours already done there. Great. So great. So everyone on the call can see what this sauce looks like, made from dates, a blend of herbs and spices, and the tomato paste. All right. So I'm going to make sure that I get everything out of that blender to avoid wasting. So this is, rather than having to use a whole lot of ketchup and so, we are going to be using this blended paste. So we're going to continue now with, we're going to add I'm doing it gradually. So we're going to add that sauce to the pasta. So for those who are wondering, if you have a whole grain pasta, that's great. But we know that most Barbadians do make their macaroni pie with the regular pasta, and we're going to be adding quite a bit of ingredients into that pasta that contains fiber. So if you do have a whole grain pasta, that's ideal. So I'm going to be adding now, I'm going to be stirring in that tomato sauce into the macaroni so that you should be able to see clearly and follow along. So this is the first layer of flavor that we are actually adding to this dish. This is the first layer of flavor. You realize I didn't put any mayonnaise on, this is our first layer of flavor. You can see it there, a blend of herbs and spices. Great, so we're going on to step 4. So I'm going to start with the water. Because I'm not putting in all the water, you know, the recipe calls for 1.5 cups, but because I'm going to be doing it in stages, I'm starting with 1/2 cup for this first blend. Okay, so if you're doing it in stages, just pour off 1/2 cup of water, and from about 1.5 cups. So I'm going to start with 1/2 cup, and then I'm going to follow on with the onions. I believe I'm going to add the onions. So I think you have your onions already prepped. So I'm going to add those onions in. And then the next thing I'm going to add after that will be the carrots. I'm going to blend those two together first, and then move on to the other ingredients. Wonderful. So we're ready to blend. By now you can probably see that my blender is struggling, so that's the reason why I had to blend. So you see there are various ways in which to get this done. You know, we all don't have the same type of appliances, but we'll get the job done anyhow. So this is blending. So after this, I'm going to actually add this to the pasta once this is done. So I'm adding it to the pasta now. So you're stirring in that carrot and onion into the pasta, and you're adding some vitamin A, some wonderful fiber into there. Even though the pasta is not a high fiber product, you are adding that in there. So we are going to, I'm showing you what that looks like. So all of that also brings quite a bit of flavor, the onions, the carrots, and so forth. And next up, we're going to make that sauce with the sunflower seeds. Now, I know that many of you are familiar with using the cashew seeds, but in my view, it's a pretty good. So this is the cup now that I'm adding to the blender for those who are cooking along. Is a cup of water. And now you're going to add the seeds. Next up, this is the nutritional yeast. This is 1/2 cup according to your and you can choose whichever brand you want. This is a salt. This is just a teaspoon of salt we're adding. The other teaspoon would have been placed in the macaroni or whichever pasta you're using when it was being cooked. So this is just a teaspoon of salt, and I'm trying to just get it all from that container. And this other ingredient is the garlic powder. It's not garlic salt, it's garlic powder, and that's with 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. Okay, so once all that is all added, we're ready to blend. We're ready to blend, so let's go. So now we're going to be adding it to the pasta. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. I can scoop over here. Yes, so we're adding it to the pasta. And you need to stir it in well. Try to get it all out. It could be a little thick in the blender, so I try to, you see that I actually took the blender apart to get it out, but you do whatever you want to do. You'll find that this recipe, the amount of sunflower seeds that I have in here, it's pretty rich. So, you know, some persons may decide that they want to use a little less, but I like it this way. Okay, so you're ready to stir. Oh, I'm taking it even from the blade. You don't want to waste anything, but we're ready to go. We're ready to stir this in. Okay, so let's go. So I'm hoping that the persons on the cook along that you have your baking dishes or whatever you choose to have, because you're soon going to be putting this into dish, lightly greased dish. And this is what it's looking like. Yeah, that's it. That is what it is. It's really not a difficult recipe at all. The hardest part is to get the ingredients. Once you have a blender, you should be able to follow through on this recipe. So I actually use 2 dishes. If you have a half hotel pan, you should be able to spread it all out in there. But I'm ready to, I think, Kimberly, do you want me to pause? It looks like you're still stirring in. You're ready to dish it out?
I'm good.
You good? Wonderful. All right, so I actually have another dish to put this in. So let's see how that goes. Now I typically bake this in a 400-degree oven. I cover it because, as you can appreciate, unlike cheese and some of those other things, you get that kind of gooiness and that moisture. I cover it to prevent it from drying out. Now what I do at home behind the scenes is that I just take a regular pan and I just cover it, and I found that that worked better for me. But today I'm going to be covering it with foil. The foil is not going to touch the food, for those who may be concerned about foil. It's not going to touch the food. I'm cleaning off the dish now. It's not going to touch the food, and I'm going to bake it. What I found in using the foil, I actually had to bake it a bit longer. So what I would say is that you can probably add about 40 minutes or so. You can check yours, and if you have to take off the cover, actually you can make that decision. But this is something that I'll probably have to test for this recipe, because I used the foil and I found that the foil probably kept in the steam more than just putting on a regular cover, which allowed some of that heat to go in there, and it baked faster, in my opinion. So I'm going to cover it now. As I said, for those of you who are at home behind the scenes, you don't necessarily have to go fancy. You can use if you have a pan big enough to cover your dish, you can do that. But I'm using some foil, and this is not going to touch. I'm covering it now. You're actually getting it ready for the oven. You're baking at 400 degrees. And this is it here.